Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, let's just dive right into this. Today, we're taking a thrilling, cinematic journey into what is easily the most mysterious and honestly terrifying object in the entire universe. Now, you've definitely heard about them in science fiction movies, or maybe read about them in comic books, but the actual real-world physics behind them, it's far more captivating than anything Hollywood could ever dream up. We're going to break down exactly what they are, how they work, and what would happen to you if you were unlucky enough to actually fall inside one.
So I want you to picture this. Imagine you're floating through the cold, dark void of space, when suddenly this giant black hole appears directly in front of you. It's just a massive, swirling sphere of absolute darkness. What happens next? Would you die instantly the moment you got close? Would time itself literally stop? Or would something even stranger happen? Well, we are going to explore every agonizing, mind-bending step of that journey today. So make sure you stick around because the final answer is absolutely going to change how you think about the universe.
Section 1. Birth of the Abyss. Let's look at how these things actually form.
So, how does a literal hole in the fabric of space even come to be? Well, the recipe for a cosmic monster is beautifully simple. It all starts with a massive star, one that's much, much bigger than our own sun. For millions of years, this star burns brightly, perfectly balancing the outward push of its nuclear energy against the inward pull of its own massive gravity. But eventually, step 1 happens. It runs out of nuclear fuel. The fire just goes out. Then, step 2. Without that outward energy, the core violently collapses under its own intense gravity in literally a fraction of a second. And finally, step 3. The gravity becomes so incredibly strong, crushing all that matter into such a tiny space that a black hole is born. It creates a region of space with gravity so intense that absolutely nothing can escape its grip.
Now, you might think that's the end of the story, right? That all of these gravitational traps floating out there in the dark are exactly the same. But actually, here is where it gets even crazier, because black holes come in completely different weight classes.
Section 2. Giants of the Cosmos. We're looking at supermassive versus stellar black holes.
Basically, we have two main weight classes. First up are the standard stellar black holes. These are the ones formed from single collapsing stars, just like we talked about a second ago. They're relatively small but incredibly dense, and there are millions of them scattered everywhere throughout our galaxy. Then we have the supermassive black holes. And guys, these are absolute titans. We are talking monsters that are millions, sometimes billions of times the mass of our sun. And they don't just float around randomly either. They are actively lurking right at the center of almost every large galaxy in the universe, acting as this massive gravitational anchor for everything around them. And hey, we aren't just guessing that these exist. Over the last few years, scientists have made some truly unbelievable discoveries. We've actually captured the very first photograph of a supermassive black hole located in a distant galaxy called M87. It looked exactly like a glowing, fiery donut of light surrounding pure darkness. And even closer to home, scientists have been intensely studying Sagittarius A star. That is the supermassive black hole located right at the center of our very own Milky Way galaxy. It's just sitting there right now, silently watching over us.
All right, so now that we know exactly what they are, how they're born, and just how unbelievably massive they can get, it is time to start our hypothetical descent. We're going to fly our spaceship right up to the edge, and honestly, this next part is, without a doubt, the most mind-blowing.
Section 3. The dangerous approach, getting closer to the edge.
So Albert Einstein taught us that space and time are fundamentally connected. Because the gravity of a black hole is just so incredibly intense, it actually warps time itself. As you get closer and closer, time begins to slow down for you compared to the rest of the universe. If you had friends watching you from a spaceship safely far away, they'd see your movements get slower and slower and slower. What feels like just a few minutes to you could literally be thousands of years passing by back on Earth. You are essentially time traveling into the future just by getting close to this object.
As you continue to fall inward, that pull of gravity gets stronger and stronger until you reach a very specific, invisible line in space. This is the event horizon. It's the absolute boundary around a black hole where gravity becomes so unimaginably strong that the speed required to escape it is actually faster than the speed of light. And since absolutely nothing in the universe can travel faster than light, this is it. This is the ultimate point of no return. Once you cross this threshold, you are trapped forever. No radio signals, no light, no hope of escape can ever get back out.
Section 4. The spaghettification effect. A truly fatal stretch.
Okay, let's say you're falling into the black hole feet first. Because you are so incredibly close to the source of the gravitational pull on your feet is vastly, exponentially stronger than the pull on your head. This extreme difference in gravity across the length of your body causes this bizarre, violent, and completely fatal process. Scientists literally call this spaghettification. No joke, you would be stretched out vertically and squeezed in horizontally, turning into a long, thin stream of subatomic particles, literally just like a piece of spaghetti, before being pulled completely down into the darkness.
Now, I know that sounds exactly like pure exaggerated science fiction, but it's very real physics. It is exactly what the math tells us happens to matter under extreme gravitational stress. But as terrifying as that sounds, scientists discovered something truly unbelievable about what might lie just beyond this zone of destruction.
Section 5. The Ultimate Mystery. Deep inside the abyss.
If you could hypothetically survive that plunge past the event horizon, deep inside the very heart of the black hole lies the singularity. This is a point where all of that mass, the entire crushed star, plus everything else the black hole has ever eaten, is compacted into a space infinitely small. At this exact point, our current understanding of physics completely breaks down. The math literally stops working. The equations of gravity and quantum mechanics just throw their hands up. But because we don't know exactly what happens at the singularity, it opens up some incredible possibilities. Some physicists actually believe it could be a theoretical gateway to somewhere entirely new.
And this leads us to the final spectacular reality-bending theory. Could this singularity actually be a doorway to an entirely different universe? You see, some mathematical models suggest that the matter falling into a black hole doesn't just disappear or crush into nothing forever. Instead, it might fall through a wormhole and be blasted out of a white hole into a completely different cosmos, or even a different point in our own timeline. If this is true, black holes aren't just cosmic vacuum cleaners. They're the ultimate transit system of the multiverse.
But look, here is the stark reality of the situation. As incredible as all these theories are, the truth is, no human has ever crossed an event horizon and returned to tell the tale. And because not even light can escape to send us a picture or a data transmission, everything beyond that dark boundary remains one of the greatest, most profound mysteries in the entire universe. We can run the math, we can build the models, but we simply cannot look inside.
Maybe one day our technology will evolve enough to finally look inside. But until then, it leaves us with one staggering, mind-blowing question. If falling into a black hole means crossing a bridge into an entirely new universe, is it possible that our universe is sitting inside a black hole right now? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.